Hi, Peter.
Hey. All right,
I
we're
was trying
live.
to. So you didn't see me on my computer?
No, I see you now, but I didn't.
Do you see me on both or just the
I see
phone?
you now. I think everybody, can you hear me? Can you see us? Just want to make sure.
Hi, everyone. My notification says I'm in the show.
Okay.
Everyone can see and hear me, but that's on my
Okay, they can see us and
phone.
hear us. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So I'll come out of the computer. I think it would be easier to use the computer.
We can
But
see you and it's very clear. I don't know. When I look in the screen, it looks fine, but on the other one I look a little fuzzy, but nevertheless, we're here. We're here. And we are going to be talking about Passion Tide.
passion
I'm
time.
excited to talk about this book.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
drama, guys, the drama. The
Mm-hmm.
drama. Very dramatic. Very dramatic. I
Yeah.
even went back to a couple of chapters because I felt like I missed some stuff. And when I got to the end, um, so we're gonna dig in because I feel like we can really get into some serious conversation about this book.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, we'll just say hi to a few people. Um, Hi Dee Dee, hi Rebecca, Randy, Regina, Beverly, Fatima, Mad World. Thanks for joining in.
Thank you so much for joining. I am so excited.
I'm gonna step first off saying I enjoyed this. Um,
Yes.
it is definitely a lot of this. There's a lot of things different going on in this. We have religion, we have sexuality,
Mm-hmm.
we have relationship with men and women. It
Mm-hmm.
is very much a feminist book, but I think it's done in a way that it made sense to me. Um, there is, I like so far, I would say, the multi perspective you get.
Yes. Yes.
And I think that's why it worked
Yeah. Yeah.
because you didn't get viewpoint from just the women. The men had a loud voice in this story.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start off with that. How did you guys feel about the multiple characters and their point of view in the story?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I really liked it. Before, I know probably I can't see the chat. I'm so sorry. Let me see if I can pull it up. I can't chat. Okay, there we go. I see it. Okay. Didi said I liked it more than I thought I would. Yeah, yeah. I read Monique Roffey's book, The Mermaid of Black Conch, so I knew that I liked her as an author. I was pretty sure I was gonna like this book. I wasn't sure I was gonna feel about the subject matter, but like you said, Peter, I thought that it was done in a way to show that we should all be feminists, right? To borrow from the title of another very popular book. Um, and the question you ask about the multiple perspectives, what I think really was really useful with that was that sometimes when you're reading a book and you're following just one character, if the character is unlikable, sometimes it affects how you feel about the things that character or characters are doing.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, a lot of the characters were unlikable in certain respects. Or, you may be a little offended by some of the choices that a character may make, and it may impact your thoughts about other choices that they have to make. And I think the fact that we're following so many different people, who quite a few of them may have been a little off-putting in some respects, gave us an opportunity to really see the full picture, the full scope of what was happening from lots of different perspectives. The people who are in authority, as well as people who would be more in the shadows, or people who may be more cast in the victim role. I like that we got a lot of perspectives. I also really like that the person who may have been seen as a victim had
Hmm.
her had her own voice, and that it wasn't just about her victimhood. I like that.
So Dee Dee said too many characters in her opinion.
Too
So
many.
why do you feel this way, Dee Dee? It
I don't know if it's too. I mean, it was a lot, but I
was
think
a lot.
it.
I was taking notes. I was literally taking notes
Yeah, yeah.
because
In the
I
beginning,
wanted to not get the characters mixed up,
yeah.
especially that each chapter had multiple perspectives in the same chapter, which is
Yes.
different because normally when you have multiple
Mm-hmm.
characters, they would get like a chapter of their own. But
Yeah.
no, it was like within the chapter and there's a break and then we get in another person. But I feel like the what was happening, I think the author didn't want to miss the other person's perspective, which is
Yeah.
why it fell into that place. Um, but I liked it.
Yeah. In the beginning, I was getting Charlene and Tara confused. And maybe because the way they're both represented with their full names, not everybody, well, maybe she did. Maybe she did. Because I guess we did get all of their names. But I kept seeing Charlene Sellier and Tara Kissoon as one person. And it was hard sometimes for me to remember which one was which.
Uh-huh.
Um, but I think,
I was able to separate them because I found that Tara was a little bit more feisty,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
and
he had
the yeah, and Charlie was trying to get into her. She was. It's. I think she got to a breaking point where she started becoming a little aggressive about what she wanted. But Tara looked like she from the get go. She was
yeah,
from the get go.
yeah.
How do you feel about her connection with the superintendent, Loveday?
So there were some really surprising things that happened. There were some surprising things that happened. Um, because, we are poised to see Charlene and Loveday as each other's antagonists and just like enemies from the start. And there was a section in maybe part 4 where he starts having this fantasy about her, and I was like, oh,
I
hold
was
on,
like, what? There's that part with the
hold on.
earthquake, and I was like, wait, what is happening here? I don't like this.
Because you know we're primed to see him as being attracted to more pliable women, more docile women, but he is actually attracted to someone who is in power.
Yeah, or
And
that can stir
power.
him up because look at the woman he's having an affair with,
Yeah.
and that moment when he's on the phone and she was doing,
Yeah.
she was
um
purposely trying to, get him in trouble while he's on the phone.
oh my. Yeah, there's some surprising things that happen in the book. Oh my. Yeah, I I feel like I didn't need all of the sexuality, but I think it added, like you said, someone said in the comments, it added this other layer, this other dimension to the book, because in a lot of ways we are we're hearing or we're thinking about how these
Hi,
women
Michael.
use their sexuality, how they use it, and the power that they have given their sexuality. Yeah, that was a different level in the book, but yeah.
And
uh,
they're talking about the sexuality thing when that crazy man talking about if they really want to stop all these murderers, they should have done the opposite. F all the men on the island twice
no,
a day.
I,
Give sex away freely. Love men, all men, even the short, the ugly, the sick, sick, the weak.
where is that? Because I tabbed it.
That was
I
on page
said
292.
two. Oh,
I
two.
fell out.
Right.
I fell out on that 292. That was the end of the first paragraph.
Yep.
I was like,
Yep.
what?
um okay, so what was really surprising about that was because all of this is happening during this period of Lent, when we know so many people, are abstaining from lots of things, intimacy being one of them. And I just didn't expect all of this to be happening during that time. So yeah. It was surprising, quite surprising. But I think the author used this really well to
Mhm.
show the point, show how important women's sexuality is. And sometimes the power is not acknowledged.
No.
Power is not acknowledged. But yeah, we have the power. Oh man.
Yeah, I was completely like, I cracked up when I read that part. I was like, this man didn't play. Yeah, let's talk about Gigi, the prostitute,
Yeah.
and
And
the forensic scientist.
mm-hmm.
One
Mm-hmm.
thing about that part of his story, I didn't realize how much they, um, you know, dealing with dead bodies in a regular, that they have those mental break, those
Yeah.
um, that I never even thought of. I mean, you just think somebody loves to do that for a living, and
Mm-mm.
not realizing that how traumatic it can be for them, and over time, they mentally cannot handle that job anymore. I thought that was interesting, but I do like their love story. I don't. It was a love story. I mean, it was a love story. Not what I expected, but it's a weird love story because in for her storylines where she talks about how women being a prostitute is so shamed on and so treated a certain way, but no one talks about the men who engaged in the behavior and how they get to live their life, and no one talks about those men, because ultimately if you're doing that for a living, somebody's paying. But in this case, there's that bit of romance that they added in this, where she's running from love, but ultimately love found her, and he's able to love her despite that part when he said he's paying all that money. But he fell for her. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. There are these little quiet moments that the author just kind of interwove into a really, well, 1 second. Um, okay, we had an agreement. Okay. There are these quiet moments that the author interweaves into a really harsh discussion that, like I said, this book was just surprising in so many levels. Because like you were saying about what Gigi mentions about this old profession, it's biblical, right? This mentions
Hmm.
the woman being castigated for things that she's doing and that she's not doing by herself, but there is no consequence for the people who are engaging in the acts with her. um it's just it just keeps being played out. It just keeps being repeated over and over. And I like that she shows how um Gigi's doing this because she believes that, number one, she knows that there's a need for it, which I think it's a little difficult for us to think about, but there are people who are more comfortable being with someone who there is some kind of distance, right? They
Hmm.
have some separation, that they can do this without the emotional repercussions,
Yeah, the
or
whole no kissing story,
yeah,
which
yeah.
and
She,
which when she did tell him how she felt, that's one of the things she said. She hasn't been kissed in how long, and I was like, yeah, she got him.
when she
She hooked.
when
Um,
coming from the camp, and she went and stayed at his house, and like she's on his terms, she's on his turf, and he is respectful of where she said she wanted to be and what she said, like what her limits are. And that instead of, like she said, instead of sleeping with her, he slept with the dog. And
I'm reading this one too.
yeah, it's really deep. Oh my. I wonder how people feel about Charlene physically attacking Charles K. Charles. Even Gigi's dog sinking his teeth into God's arm that Gigi seemed okay with. Male violence influence. Okay. All right.
Yeah, yeah. But that could be also the fed up moment. They were fed up. So I
Yeah.
think naturally you want to fight back and may not be kumbaya fight back. It might the violent part. But yeah, it is something that happens too. Not to say women can't be violent. They can. And they can be okay with it in terms of how they see it, how they're exposed to it, what they live through.
But I think there's a difference. There is still a separation between women's violence and men's violence against women. It's not the same because
Hmm.
men's violence against women, as the book is showing, is antagonistic. A lot of
Hmm.
women's violence is responsive,
Yes.
and it's self-defense. It's different. It's not the same. It's not even punished the same in the courts. So yeah, yeah, just fed up. People fed up. um yeah.
It's a good point. It's not about the clothes we're wearing.
Yeah, that
I like that part because I feel like you do hear that quite often.
and the blame
Um, the
him.
blame the victim and
Mhm.
what you wearing is your fault while you will be assaulted for any reason. I absolutely hate that, and I hate when people make that comment because you are in control of yourself, and you're telling me what I wear is making you respond that way. You can't control yourself. That's just anger. That just makes me angry, and I don't want to hear that. But again, it happens too often. Another thing that I liked about this story when it talks about local and international murder.
Mhm.
I find that, especially in the Caribbean, where a vast majority of our money is wrapped up in tourism. So when someone visits the island and something happens to that person, versus you might have 50 people that got killed, nothing is going to be done to this extent. But an international person, it gets so much attention, and it brings down so much problem because then you're worried about is people going to want to go visit to that country, are they going to lose tourist money, are they going to lose anything. So this having the author use a character that was a Japanese person visiting was a big deal to the story, and I think that's why it got more international screaming versus like if it was a local person that wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah, because as they mentioned, so many women, it had happened to so many women
Yeah,
already. And
over
maybe because
500. Mm-hmm.
it protest, maybe because, the women hadn't gotten together before to protest this. But yeah, I think a lot of this provoked a lot of different kinds of feelings. It wasn't something that could just get swept under the rug like everybody else because there was international attention on it.
Yeah.
Um, I think it probably would have been different kind of attention if she'd come from a different country, if she'd been an American tourist. But she wasn't just a tourist. I think that was also very important that she was someone who was a repeat visitor to the island and that she was immersed in the music community. So she wasn't just, a tourist that they could blame it on. Or, she came and was getting wild on the beach and, whatever happened to her. This was someone who was actively a part of a community. And, you couldn't just say like, or try to blame her
Ooh,
away and forget about all the other things that she did.
yeah. I you can tell there's certain aspect of the book that the author took real life things from.
Mhm.
Of course, change it up a bit. I think every politician in the Caribbean is very concerned when carnival time comes. You do not want anybody to be hurt or any kind of violence against anybody during that period of time. So I'm sure a lot of the carnival passes they have used, um, they have seen it and used, and she took some of this. It was hard for her to separate Trinidad because you felt Trinidad all over this page. When she
Yes.
was talking about the food and the stuff, I said, "Woman, we in Trinidad."
Trinity food is
I was
indigenous.
like, "Who is she fooling?"
Yeah. Once you start talking about the doubles, there's only one
I
place.
was like, "Oh, when she did that, I was like, girl, we not in fictition no more. We in Trinidad."
Yeah. But she had, I think, I was thinking about it too, that she had to make it a fictional name at least,
Mhm.
for the purpose of the politics,
Yes.
to represent a politician or leader of opposition or somebody like that. She, if she was using the real country, then it would make it maybe a little, maybe make it more political than it needed to be in terms
Mhm.
of just like government politics. But
Yeah.
I like the fact that it was a fictional name for a country, even if we know which country she's
You know it's
talking about.
Trinidad.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's a really important thing. That's Randy says that is upsetting but so true. In this story, being an outsider gave Sora a privilege in death that local women don't have. Women's value is stratified by class, race, etc. Which is why it was so important that women from all the different backgrounds started coming out. Because when it was just the sex workers protesting, it was probably a little easier
You
to
disgrace them, talk bad about them. Let's arrest them. Let's do all
yeah.
these things to them because that's what they are.
But
But
when the
when
speech
you
started
have
and the
different class of women starting to show up,
yeah,
it became something else. Especially the religious one, when they decided they're going to join in,
yeah.
it becomes a different kind of conversation. And what can you do?
And I think if everything got increased, intensified when the first lady spoke. That's when things really got hot, because she's a representative of the women, right? She's a representative of the people to the people themselves as well as to the rest of the world. When she said she joined in the strike, I'm with the women. What? Yeah, the idea of the perfect victim. Yeah. If you can find one single thing to put on the shoulders of the victim, then they basically ask for it. Yeah. That was a really incendiary comment that he made, saying that, women asking for it by how they're dressing. Because if you've ever been around a carnival representation, whether carnival itself or just seeing the outfits, so what? You're saying that all these women are begging for violence based on what they do?
Yeah.
Woman could be buttoned up, she could be wearing a robe, and if someone wants to hurt her, they
You
will.
will.
They will
Yes.
try at least. So it's not, because in places and cultures where women are very very well covered, there's still
It could
violence against
happen.
those
Yeah.
women. So it's never about how they're dressed.
So let's talk about um
Let me see the comments here.
let's see. We're talking about let's talk about Tara, the situation of what happened to her. Because when I got to the end, I was like, my reaction at first was, no, this author did not. But there was clues throughout the story that she might not make it to the end. Um, and I thought that was interesting at first because I didn't even paid attention to that part. So I had to go back, and there was that moment in that was on page 195 when she felt she was going to be unalive.
Yes.
Um,
Mhm.
when she said, and then it came to her that feeling of being here before. She's seen it before. How? Yes, she saw it then. A blur vision and knowing something which lay in wait. Her passing death by murder.
Mhm.
That was on page 195.
Yeah, 195.
I felt like what he did, Love Day, his confession, like basically put her in harm's way because we still don't really know who the killer was. So there's that question mark. Who really was the killer? Then there's also, did the brother, this that whole situation have you thinking multiple things.
Hmm.
Did the confession that the brother know that she knows when she go take a walk? Did she, I don't know why she did that. I'm questioning why she did that to her.
Why? Who? The author?
Yes,
So I think this book is supposed to ask questions, not just give answers.
yes, yes.
Yeah,
And
it's.
I think that's why I like it
Hmm.
because of that, because the amount of conversation piece on this ending, because again, did the brother do it? Did
Yeah,
the real killer did it?
yeah.
What really happened? She was also out there in the hood because apparently St. Catherine's notorious for things happening to women. So
Hmm.
it could have been another person. So there's that all this question, and I'm like, oh, she did it. She got us good on that ending.
I want to see what people have to say. I don't want to. I don't know.
This
I don't
this
know.
this is well. Let's go with Dee Dee first. Dee Dee
Yeah,
said,
the ending adds even more realism. Yeah,
"Yeah,"
yeah.
and I have to agree with that because the whole idea is things continue to happen. Things are going to happen. We may not know how, but things are gonna. And here, this is another new victim. So this is not a society that all the everything just went so good and everything was like no woman was gonna ever be hurt again. That's not the society for this book, or if it's being realistic. So
Mhm.
yes, and then this one, Rebecca.
Rebecca says, at first I thought maybe Brain got her, but it seemed like Krish was okay, so that changed my mind. Um,
It, we don't know because then
yeah,
because at that moment when Loveday got on that boat, anything is possible because he done got away. We think.
so Loveday's action creates a sense of closure for the world. So it gives a person who you could probably pin it on. Um and it seems like there is some kind of resolution to the criminal investigation, right? But as the reader, we're privy to more information than the rest of the world does. So there are really two questions. There are really two sets of questions that need to be answered. The questions that people on the outside have, as well as the questions that the reader has. And so our questions may not be answered, but the investigation could be closed.
Yeah.
And the Occupy protest could end with some kind of a resolution. Even if it's not a real resolution, it is something that can be used as like a marker. Okay, this is where we are. We're gonna move forward. We're not gonna look back. But yeah, the reader's always gonna have questions.
Somewhat, but I still feel like it still open up doors to what next because there's always effect. There's always going to be an effect to his decision to how he decided to somewhat out himself but then run away. It's
Mhm.
still going to question a lot of things. Where are you now? Where did you go? Because you ran away. So did you really like come clean and take your punishment? But no, you ran away. You basically gave up your brother and ran away.
Yeah, but that's what a lot of people do. That's what a lot of people do. There are political leaders who have done that, and all that happens is you've run away from the limelight, so we can now focus on a new thing because there's always something new to focus on. Um, so yeah, people stop asking questions because it's just not, you just can't follow. There's no more information.
You said, oh yeah, and shot someone.
Mhm.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it. I mean, gratefully that man deserved it, but still, he did go out with a bang.
Yeah.
He did leave the country with a bang. and
Literally.
left a wife and kids and a mistress.
Yeah, but he didn't care about his family. He
No,
never.
he didn't. But they don't know.
He didn't care about his family, which is sad. Which is sad. Mm.
So, and then there's that political viewpoint of Mr.
Mhm,
Man who decided to do something about it because of his daughter.
mhm. Yeah, it's
And
all personal. It's always the personal feelings that people who don't respond unless they're personally involved in something. Because
really, Didi,
even Mr. Solomon, you're saying Love Day?
right?
I
Love Day was out there.
let me think about this.
Right? What else he hiding? I was so mad when he got on that boat. I said I was thinking something was gonna happen to him.
No, you know,
He said, "I'm just saying."
we also got this scene right where he's in the where is he in a restaurant and he's crying because he also has PTSD.
Yeah. Well they talked about it. The forensic dude, he did mention it, saying that cops have it. So yeah, they have it. And then the fact that he mentioned that he's never even shot anybody, like he's never had to do any of that. And the
He's
one time he does it, it for me, I felt like he was taking justice in his own hand, because he just swear this is the man that did it. And he was gonna just say, he shot somebody, we're gonna finish him off, and then he's gonna run. Which I never understood. You're a police officer, because you're not in clothes that you run off. Like, you still could have waited, because yeah, that was a wild situation.
in truth, he'd only ever drawn his gun in combat 3 times in 20 years. He'd only ever fired directly at a human once and missed.
Yep,
Usually he fired into the ground.
yep,
He
yep,
not at anyone, let alone, whatever.
yep,
That
yep.
was because he is, the law guy.
He's a law guy. Everybody else is gonna do the dirty work for him. He's not doing it.
You expect that, he's
And
done
he
this.
sucked, because there's that moment when
Yeah.
when the case just happened and they asking all these questions, and he said, "What are you talking about? This whole place is contaminated. Carnival just happened.
Yeah.
Okay, what does that mean?" And it was like, there's so many things that you can tell that he was just a horrible at his job. Like, he just didn't care. And then I was so upset when they were like, the time that you couldn't even tell what time of the day the person was killed, because they put the body in the fridge before the autopsy was done.
Yeah. Yeah, that was rough. And even then we had this viewpoint of the Sora saying it, like she's repeating it, like how could they do that to the body? Like, I'm expecting that they're going to get all of this information and
Yep,
they
yep,
but it also reminded me of how holidays are or used to be celebrated in the Caribbean. I grew up in
mm,
Jamaica. I don't know. I'm not positive that this is how it happened in every other Caribbean country, but when we were growing up, on a holiday, nothing happened. Other than the
mm,
holiday, that was it.
yep,
So this woman, this murder happening on a holiday, it was going to be very difficult to get people who weren't supposed to work back to work to do the right thing.
yep.
And so yeah, the people who were in charge of or who were tasked with processing the body were not the regular people, and then no, they just put the body in the fridge and say, all right, when the right person show up for the job, they can deal with it. Except no, they can't.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. I thought that was, yeah. When that part in the book, I was like, I know that man is like stressed. I know that man was not gonna make it, and he did. That was so bad, and I'm like, which is so true, because and then again, he's the only one on the island
Yeah,
that
yeah,
can
yeah.
perform the job. So the mental pressure that he has to go through on a regular got to be extremely horrible for him. And on top of that, you think about the fact that um, he doesn't have a life. He has two kids, two different women. Um, he doesn't feel like he's connected to the island. There's a part where he talks about, being a white man on this island and what they tend to take away or do. And I thought that was him being, they should be realistic on that sense of certain privilege they have, but technically don't have nothing if you think of it, because that's not their home. They're not going to feel the certain connection to that land. But then there's that moment where he talks about that little piece of land that he got that he's gonna live on because he's gonna retire. I thought that was interesting too when being discussing in this, and then that whole idea with Gigi could talk about. I want this white man, and what does that say for her? I
Mhm.
thought that was interesting.
There's so many things being discussed by these characters' thoughts and their actions, because you would want to hope that when you are interested in someone, attracted to someone, that it could just be, one person with another person. But for Gigi and what's his name, Forrester,
Yeah,
it's
Forrester.
all of these centuries of history that they have to process, b- instead of seeing each other as just one person looking at another. um yeah, that question that she asked herself, like, what does it say about her that she's attracted to this man? um why should it have to say something about you? But that is the reality. So yeah, there's just there are just so many questions being asked. I don't think the author could have answered all of them. uh,
Mm-hmm.
I really don't think she was trying to, but it made for a really thoughtful read.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was a comment too that the prime minister made. It was at the end of part 6, and I was reading it in my check-in video, where he was saying, these women getting together and protesting what the men are doing, but we're not fighting. We should be fighting together as one, because all of us have been colonized. All of us need.
Yep, yep, and brought
Like,
the black thing in. We
you
support the
make
black man. I
you
was like,
yeah,
like when that part, I was like, wait a minute.
yeah,
Wait a minute here. We all been colonized, but we're
yeah,
talking about your bad behavior, sir. It's a
yeah.
different topic. It's a whole different topic. Let's talk about these men bad behavior and the things that they're doing. And again, the political ride was serious, like Mad World just said. She enjoyed it, the political aspect. Yeah, that politicians, they usually like the ride, and they look to see, is it going to benefit them before they actually like do anything.
Yeah, and I don't think there are any
Where your
politics.
mind going? Because I know you, your mind.
No,
Roll back in.
no, I'm just thinking where she's. Mad World says how politicians usually ride the wave until the problem goes away. So yeah, even when we saw Solomon locking himself in his room, talking about he gone fishing, tell people that he gone fishing. As a politician, if you, as prime minister of the country, if you've gone fishing when half of your country, maybe more than half of your country, is in protest against the other half, and you lock up in your room talking
Yep.
about you drinking away your sorrows because you miss your wife, sir, that's the least of your problems. I gotta tell you, right now you're the person in charge, and everything's on fire. You talk about you gone fishing. Tell the
Yep.
people you gone fishing. Um, this was the problem that wasn't going away. So that's the problem. What do you do if you're used to, hanging out and waiting for things to resolve by themselves? What are you gonna do when they're not resolving? When things are just getting worse? And things got worse for him
Yep. It
to the
sure
point
did.
his
These
wife
people
wife took
These people knew how to protest. They
remote.
knew how to protest, okay? The
Yeah,
madness and all the extra carrying on serves purpose. They got the attention, And I feel like I love this kind of protest. And I mean the things we going through now. When people
I
are
love
carrying on.
I love that the women, like the older women, they started coming in really early, and
Mm-hmm.
that was really what stopped it. What stopped the police from doing anything, because
Yes.
all these men coming in, whether it come army, SWAT team, no matter what you send, everybody could see, like whether it's their grandmother or their aunt represented there. Not maybe not their literal grandmother or aunt, but these older women who were showing themselves, and these men were like, no, we can't go any further. We can't do anything with these
Yeah, what
women.
we gonna do? What we gonna do? And there's that point where he tried to compare it to another uprising that was like very violent, and the guy's telling him it is not the same.
It's
You
not the same.
know, they, these people are they don't have weapons.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
Yeah. Oh my. This was a great book. I thought it was a great book.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot going on. I didn't expect this. I absolutely did not expect it like that. I mean, I knew it was gonna be when when they're saying the woman upright, but I did not expect all of this. I just thought she really crafted it in a way that kept your attention. Because I was never like there was no part of it where I was bored. I was just like, ooh, what's going on here? What's
Yeah.
next? And I think because of the characters, it just kept going. And I think that she did a good job in keeping our attention. Um, I did like you got the voice of the victim.
Mm-hmm.
There's throughout the story of what she's thinking when it's happening, or the aftermath of seeing herself and the other people around, and she's like a spirit. And I thought that was interesting putting that in the story, um, and make you think of victims, and what we would think they were thinking or what they were going through at the time. I thought that was interesting sprinkle that she put. It felt like she was adding poetry in the story as well in certain aspect of it, how she was writing it, to make it feel poetic.
Yeah. Something else that I liked about the inclusion of the victim's voice was, I think it was maybe in part 6 or so, where we had her just saying that because of her background, people
Hmm.
from her culture believe in reincarnation. And
Hmm.
while while we may be focused on the violent end that this Sora Tanaka had, that this would not be the end of her. So her belief is that, her spirit will come again. And so in this life, she did accomplish something, because even though it was a tragic end for her, it also precipitated something important.
Yes.
Like, kind of don't cry for her completely, because she will do more, and maybe
Hmm.
in a better life next time or something. I like that. I don't
Hmm.
necessarily believe in that, but
Yeah.
I like that the author wrote that in, because for we didn't really see Sora Tanaka do the things that
Hmm.
we that she did. We know that she was a musician, and that she was probably like a pioneer, because I don't know too much about people from Japan playing steel pan.
They
Or
do come to the islands a lot. Japanese is very
I didn't.
they love the Caribbean culture. You see them. There is like when they used to do dancehall queen competition, they
Mhm.
were in there. They were traveling to Jamaica
Oh,
to do these competition dance. They've
yeah, like,
always been, yeah, they are a huge fan of different Caribbean cultures. So I wasn't surprised about the steel band and that a Japanese person would be
yeah.
loving it and playing it, because I've seen that they are big on our culture. They love it. They absolutely love Caribbean culture.
And as you say that, it just reminded me of something in the very first, maybe first two parts, when the news broke of her death, and it was being reported or rumored that it was a white a white lady had
Yeah.
killed. And I remember Rebecca asking the question, like, why were they saying that? Did they think that she was white? But no, it's it's just this I don't know what to call it, but it's like whoever is not from here is a white person.
Yes.
It's either she local or she white.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. What
It was really
when they?
representative.
I mean, it's sadly, but when they say that, that's
Yeah,
what they thinking.
yeah.
Um,
Uh,
I thought uh that was interesting. But
it's
and then
also
also people only saw the body; they didn't see the face.
yes, and also there are white people who live in the Caribbean.
Hmm.
Forrester is a white man, and I think a lot of his neighbors where he
Yep,
lives in the gated
where he
community.
eventually moved to because he got out of the community he was in first.
Yeah,
When Gigi asks, he's like, "Yeah, oh, that community that you at now." Yeah,
yeah.
there was a lot of conversation piece with them too. I find it very interesting.
Hmm. Yeah.
Ah, the earthquake. I was like, what is going on? I was like, it was like we were at the height of the protest, and everybody is like not playing, dragging all their kitchenware and everything to this area. And then here comes the earthquake. Here comes the elevated chatter about religion.
Good Friday quake. Everybody's saying the sky went dark at the same time Christ was crucified. 4 p.m. That the quake happened as Christ died. All kind of gossip rife. That it was God's retribution for the feminist uprising. God's own punishment. People had been blasphemous, dancing half naked in front of the church. And then of course they're saying, it's not like Haiti. It's not like Haiti. Earthquakes happen in other places too, but it was just so important to assess how destructive it was compared to what we have seen happen recently
Hmm.
in
I know she had to piss people off with that one, but because it happened right after all the the LGBT situation. They were having a good time. They were like just celebrating. People were coming out the woodwork, and here comes the earthquake. I was like, I know she pissed people off with that. Like, why did she put it right after that celebration? I thought that was crazy,
yeah,
but at the
yeah,
same time, I liked it. I was like, okay, we need to stir the pot a little bit here. She's like, we're gonna shake this up. And
and
then Didi said,
oh,
no, what she said here, I think it should have been her. The only reason why it wouldn't be because of the time of the year is Easter, so you wouldn't
yeah,
get no hurricane at that time of the year. So
yeah,
that's why she went with the earthquake because it's Easter.
mm, yeah, yeah.
So that was kind of like that's when you normally would get a earthquake anyway.
But what else could have ended this?
I don't know. I don't know because I
It had,
don't think she wanted to anyone else to die.
no,
So
no,
I feel like she had to. That's good writing too, because
yeah,
I don't know if I would have thought I would have got so entangled with the story to the point where I wouldn't even know how to end that, how to like break it up and get to an ending. And I thought that was really good of her to do the earthquake. I mean, we needed something to stir it up. To let's break this up.
act of God. God. And because this had been, this was all happening during this religious period, and even the religious leader, I forget who it was, if it was the father superior, who said, it's blasphemous that you're doing this
Hmm.
while the focus should be on religion, the focus should be on God, and
Hmm.
making this about something that he considers to be anti-God. Uh,
Yes. Oh, the feminist is anti. It's anti
yeah.
God. It's yeah, yeah.
but I guess she needed to put the act of God in there in order to,
Mother Earth said me too.
yeah, yeah. But the KFC had fallen.
Oh, let me tell you, I was cracking up because you know that whole meme they got going on with Jamaica acting a fool over KFC.
Listen,
I was
and
like, what? I said, why did KFC have to show up in here? What is the obsession we got with KFC?
because listen, I tell you all the time, KFC in not the same as KFC in New
It's
York City.
not. It's not. I would admit it is not. Jamaican
Right?
KFC is on a whole nother level. It doesn't.
Yeah,
I wouldn't even touch KFC in America. I'm gonna tell you right now. But it's just so crazy when we think
I
of
it's
the
different.
hold that it has on us that it had to be mentioned in the book. I was
Yeah.
dying.
KFC had fallen. On Equalizer because the how would people have reacted if like one of the government buildings had fallen, if the house of power had fallen, all the people who protesting would celebrate. If the church had fallen, then the people who are not Christians
Would
would
have been
celebrate. If the mosque had fallen, the people who not Muslim, whatever. So I'm
mhm.
just, the KFC, you don't have to be from any kind of background to enjoy some good fried chicken or barbecue.
Nope.
Barbecue, big one in Jamaica.
Nope. I'm just saying that was Jamaica. They would have been devastated. Not the
Run it.
KFC.
Now that's everybody running. Oh my. KFC has fallen. Oh, that was funny.
I still can't get over the recent videos of Jamaica 50th anniversary KFC. And these people are losing their mind for the free chicken.
It was a big day. She said she and my dad were probably the only two people in Jamaica who didn't get on that line. uh, hmm,
Oh God! How about
what a
the
deal.
sex strike?
Yeah.
That was interesting. That was, but but Gigi could Gigi was struggling.
She was struggling.
Gigi was like, I was just like, come on, Gigi, come on, you gotta do it for the women. Stay strong.
But they were all struggling because these were not people who were celibate to begin with, and it's no big
Yep,
deal. They were people who were actively, they
out
were,
here.
let me just leave it like that. They were active. And this was new. This was a just like a sudden cutoff. I mean, we saw all of them. Tara's girlfriend, Gigi, Charlene, all of them.
Yep.
Even Tara herself. Yeah, they were like, we doing this, but can we really do this?
You know,
Yeah.
we punishing ourselves too.
Yeah.
Ultimately, that's what they were doing.
Yeah.
I like
Right.
that. I was here for it, but at the same time, I was very entertained. I was very entertained with the mess.
Yeah, it was good. That was good writing. Good writing.
Yep.
Um, all right. So this is a question that I always ask in book club. Who was your favorite character in the book?
Ooh.
Favorite character, and it doesn't have to be a woman. It could be a man. Although
Um,
was it Didi who
I,
said
I, I,
her
I'm
men?
gonna say only because he was messy, and that has to be Love Day. He was messy, and he was. I wanted to know what Messy's gonna do next. I was
Hey,
waiting for
no
him to.
favorite character.
I was waiting for him. I wanted him to get caught. I was like, no, no, catch him. How he got in for the boat. But I also was like, everything he was doing, I was like, ooh. And even in the beginning, because I mean, it started with him, and you're just like, oh, he's gonna be that kind of cop. But not saying like my favorite in terms of he's like this nice. No, I tend to like the bad guy, I tend to like the troublemakers in books and how they're stirring the pot. So I was more like, for him, I was really like, like, yeah. And I also like Charlene, because I mean, she was a journalist. She was also me at the end. Homegirl was also looking for herself. And I like when she was fighting, that scene of her fighting. I was like, ooh, she feisty. But I love Day. Love Day. He kept the book going. He kept the book going.
Yeah. I like Charlene, as you mentioned. I like her. Um,
Didi says she don't have a favorite.
you don't have a favorite. Is that because you like so many of them?
I
Didi
don't
had
think she like any of them.
a
Didi, let us know.
comment, but she said there are a lot of mediocre men in the book, and I couldn't agree
They
more.
are. They
Um,
are.
a lot of men who the only reason that we got anything from them was because they were men. But yeah, there are a lot of there are a lot of men with unrealized potential. And Madro said, I thought the author did a really great mix of interesting characters.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like Charlene because she was a writer, number one. But she was also, it's not like opportunistic in a bad way, but she could recognize when something was important and you could kind of leap off of it, like springboard off of it. Because when we met her, she was working in the newspaper. Was it a newspaper? She was working as a journalist, and she wasn't being like, I don't think they were really seeing her potential. And she's like, no, I'm filing this one report and then I'm done because I'm gonna do something bigger. And she did.
Mhm.
I mean, you might even say that she capitalized on a really unfortunate position
Yes. Yes.
for her own promotion.
Yes.
But that's what journalists
Yeah,
do.
that's true. Because there's that moment when the reporter was asking, "What do you want us to?" And she said, when she made that comment of what she wanted, and she was, I think she was surprised they were going to even print that. And the
Yeah.
guy was like, "Well, oh, we'll go with this," because
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
was in the thick of it. So whatever she wanted, they were going to give her.
Yeah.
But at the end, when they were like, "Who's going to replace Loveday's, you know, role or whatever?" and she was like, it should be a woman, and she was okay with it. So yeah, this is Randy. She likes Daisy. Uh, yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah,
it was hard to love in the beginning because I felt
yes,
like too quiet, that she had, number one, let her sister's memory go like for so long and not done anything. But I think it was because she didn't feel like she could use the power that she had, or maybe she just didn't recognize her own power.
hmm
Um, being, I guess, the
but then she also wanted to go away. She wanted to go away because it was bringing up the memory of her sister. So that point where she was like, "Make it go away," and he's been don't want to upset her because in a weird way. I mean, I know, she said she was mad that she stayed with her husband. They love each other in a weird way because he was miserable without her, and you can see that she wasn't going to leave her husband. But I do feel like she did stir the pot a bit with getting him even more upset because she wanted it to go away. She didn't want to think about her sister. She didn't want to think about that nothing was done. So you in that case, she wasn't true to herself, um, and then she was still grieving. And I think this needed to happen too for her because I think she got to grieve and come to this moment of her life. There's that point too when you think of when the Japanese family came to visit and they wanted to forgive the person, and they were thinking, but they and she didn't understand how could you feel that way for somebody that did that to your family member, and she didn't understand that's how they able to cope is to not dwell on the past or the because you can't heal. That's not your family member still can't come back, and in order for you to live and be true to yourself, you gotta let it go. And I thought that was interesting, and she needed that in the story, and I thought that was really really a good point.
yeah. um
He said, right? Did you
uh,
really think she was not? She was not. She
you
said,
know, yeah,
I was hoping.
something I think. just remember, it's not it's not the same in every place. In some cultures, it may have been a lot more. It might be a lot easier for her to leave. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Probably not in the culture that we're reading about. Um, yeah, but yeah, like you said, I
I
think
don't think she wanted to leave
yeah,
though.
I still
I
love
think once he did what
a lot
she
of
wanted, because remember she said you know you the request, and he did. Ultimately, he did give her what she asked. So I didn't think she was gonna leave. He did.
yeah. I
Even
think
though the daughter has more to do with it than her, but he still
yeah,
gave her what she wanted.
yeah. I don't know. I don't know, but yeah, I don't think she wanted to leave him. I don't think she wanted to leave him because, like you said, they loved each other. They had history. He had been supportive in some way for a long time. Maybe not exactly in the way that she would have wanted. But even when he asked the question, or she asked the question about, about what had happened when her sister was killed, why doesn't he ask about her? Like, I'm grieving, like, why don't you ask? And he says, well, I didn't know what to do. He makes himself, he shows that he is not, like, he doesn't have all the answers. He may
I don't think he's
try to,
ever been in a position where he had to make a tough decision. I think he's that politician that pretty much, like
yeah,
Beatty said, he's mediocre. He just get over. He does the bare minimum, and he's never had to make a tough decision. He's never had to get. It's like everything has been so easy for him because there's that idea he is in power. People gonna do whatever I want.
yeah,
Nothing's gonna be complicated for him.
that's interesting. Errol. Errol is the perfect prime minister name too, man.
Yep. Yep.
But I see him, like, I could visualize him as this
Yep.
person who has a lot of the power, a lot of the things that he has have been, like you said, have been given to him because the people around him support him.
Mm-hmm.
And so he needs their support. Without their support, he is nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, as Errol Solomon. But I
Yep.
like I like Daisy after she started acting. I didn't like when she was just hanging around and locking herself up in the room. I don't like when people lock themselves in
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
because we're not getting anything from you. I
I
rather
but
hear I
do
rather
you
hear
notice how she got braver and braver and had more voice towards the
yeah.
end?
Yeah, she definitely had a character arc because in the beginning she wouldn't even tell her husband what was going on. And then she moved from not talking to him to broadcasting her statement from her house, from their house. And I was like, Daisy, who are you? So I like the second Daisy. The first Daisy, not so much.
Mm-hmm.
Once she had
Yeah,
decided,
I like even when she was her assistant, how she was when she showed up with the cat.
yes, I like that. Like how when she was confronting the guard, and the guard's like, "No, we have to tell her to leave." And she's like, "You didn't know when she came in. I'm gonna report you."
How about that?
Yeah, you best sit over there and just do what I say. That's an order. So it's once she recognized her own power, because she was powerful. She was probably more powerful than her husband because she had the same access that he had, except she also had power over him. But at first I think she was maybe mired in her own grief, and she wasn't recognizing her own power. Once she recognized her power and actually stepped into it, she was all right. And I think that's why we see a lot of women who were married to political leaders. We see them sometimes
A
claim
shadow of themselves.
we yeah, but later we see them in public spaces, like gaining public office themselves, being elected officials. There have been
Mm-hmm.
historical women who were married to political leaders, whether whether the man has come out of office for one reason or another, or just the marriage was over. Anyway, that's another story for a different time.
Right?
But I liked her. I like the second Daisy, the powerful Daisy, who said, "Listen, I'm gonna
Hmm.
transfer you 50,000 US dollars to pay for the lawyers
That,
because
oh yeah, she knew her husband. That's
she's
for sure.
so
Because
put
she knew he was gonna do something once she got involved.
yeah, okay."
So overall, what would you rate this book?
Me?
And in the audience too,
Yeah.
what would you give this book?
Oh, this was the Caribathon group read. This is a full 5 star for me. And if anyone has any rating, I'm fully prepared to fight. Because listen, for me, a 5 star book, it doesn't have to be perfect. It has to make me think and feel a lot of different things. And I think this book did that. It made me feel some things that I was not expecting, but also learn some things. Like you mentioned about the Japanese people being in love with Caribbean culture and being immersed in Caribbean culture. I didn't know that until today. So thank you so much for sharing. But I love so many different things about this book. I love the multi layering of the different experiences. I love the multiple POVs within the each section. So we're not spending too much time with anyone, no matter how we feel about them, but they're doing something to move the story forward. I love the mix of religion and politics. I don't have to justify it. This is a 5 star read. Does anybody have a different number? Because
It's not
when
a five
you
star for me. It's a strong
know,
4.5. But I um it
what's the
yeah, I want to say five. I would definitely give it
yeah,
a strong 4 and 4.5. But it's not quite five.
yeah,
Um, yeah, and again, I have to be fair. If this wasn't a broadcast, it would have just gotten 4.5. Definitely, I would say between four
wasn't
and
what?
4.5. Huh?
What did you say? If it wasn't what?
And I'm not saying I'm very realistic when I even though I love my Caribbean author, gotta be realistic. It's gonna be what I would feel, and it's a 4.5.
Okay.
Definitely, I wouldn't say five. It wasn't perfect. I love. I mean, this is a talking piece book. This is a perfect book club book because there's so much discussion you can have, and I was entertained. I learned stuff. Again, the forensic people of having issues and not being able to retire. Some of them retire early, and in the effect of seeing a dead body all the time, and
Yeah,
victims, and especially victims that don't have a voice and they don't even know their murder would never get solved, and what that do to them. I thought that was interesting. I like that. I love the cultural aspect. This felt very Caribbean. You felt like you were in the Caribbean,
yeah,
and I love the multiple characters that was discussed in this. So overall, this is a really good read. It is up there with a lot of the books I've read this year. That's in my favorite. Love the cover. I thought the cover was amazing.
uh,
I mean, this is Carnival. This is speaking Caribbean. You pick this book up and you feel like you're picking up a Caribbean book. So the artwork was great. The presentation was great. And I think the writing was great as well. I love the flow of the writing. I love how she just engaged you. So, this is I'm speaking like it's a 5 star book,
yeah.
but I had to take off a little bit of point.
Never. I understand. I understand. You don't want to say it's a five, but you just said is
And it's my first book from the author. I know her other book. I did not read it,
yeah.
and it's a mix that has mixed reaction. So I love that Dee Dee loves this because I know you struggled with the first one. But
What?
again, I'm
Akon?
I'm here for this author. She got me. She got me.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Didi said we didn't talk about the cannonball tree. I went to see one
Oh
and very symbolic. Okay.
yes, yes.
Yeah, there's a lot, like you said, this is a perfect book to discuss because there's a lot to discuss that I don't think we could get to because you're not going to remember everything about the book.
Hmm.
But I like that. I didn't look at a picture.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now.
Cannonball.
It's a, oh wow. I don't know if it's gonna show up. Yeah, it's probably not gonna show up. It,
Yeah, I don't do they have this strange makeup? Um, doo-doo-doo-doo. Yeah, the flower is really pretty. But I
yeah.
they were mentioning there are a few places in the book where they talked about the cannonball, the balls themselves, like falling and breaking apart, and uh, you
I
know,
don't think we have anything like this.
uh-uh. No, I don't think so. I don't know all
Mm-mm.
the
I've
floor.
never seen a tree like that before.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, this.
I see,
Yeah.
really pretty. Yeah, Didi wanted to. Didi said, "It's given me faith in Monique Roffey. I want to read The White Woman on the Green Bicycle next." Yeah, that's on my list. That's the other book from her that I haven't read. I really really like The Mermaid of Black Conch. I read it a couple of times, and I think it's a book that also really lends itself to discussion because it talks about the mix of cultures and Caribbean history from a
Mhm.
lot of different viewpoints. And I wanted to read The White Woman on the Green Bicycle, and I just haven't gotten to it yet. But yeah, I like her as an author. I do.
Mm. I was just introduced to her, so you
Okay,
definitely will see me pick up another one of her books because I'm just curious what else she writes.
this is a good introduction because I think it's a strong. I think it's a strong discussion of a topic or several topics. Um, if you're a religious person, whether Christian, Buddhist, um, I don't think they mention Islam too much in the book, but really
Mhm.
Christianity and Buddhism and certain uh, African religious icons are mentioned here, and I thought I thought it was a really good mix of showing the importance of God in our lives, but also
Mhm.
how people have misused religious power, um,
Yes, yes.
in the
And
name of.
I think that's a difficult topic to have because a lot of times people don't want to hear that part and how religion can be weaponized and used
Yeah.
in a way that bring people down or harm people.
Even when she and as, listen, you guys are gonna have to change your ratings, all right? Because even when he's talking about the the religious influence changes over the different parts of the book. So we see how religion is being used to manipulate women, but then we also get um, this mass act of communion where the men
Hmm.
arrive to wash the women's feet. Do you remember that scene?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they have more men. Well, they have less women who want to actually participate in the ritual. But what the ritual actually means, the submission to women, and when the person that we're following is that Charlene. I think it's Charlene. When she's sitting down and the man who is washing her feet um, says, I'm sorry for hurting you," and he's saying it like he's personally taking responsibility for all the hurt and harm that she has experienced, and she's crying while he's washing her feet, and I'm like, this is this is Bible right here. This is what's supposed to happen. But
Yep.
yeah, for okay,
Dee stirring the pot over here.
5 stars. You put that in our 4 stars. All right, Didi, no problem. just joking. We are
Look,
all
I'm just glad Didi liked this book,
doing.
okay? Because Didi can be tough.
Yeah, but that's good. I really like the book, so
Yes,
I thought this was a great Caribathon experience.
yes.
I
Another
apologize
great read.
for I apologize for making it seem like I'm trying to get you to say something that you don't think. But yeah, I love the book, so you know me. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna hold the
I again,
ups. Mhm.
thumbs up. This was a good one. Let me tell you, I'm reading this. I'm like, oh, this is going to be a good discussion. I kept like, when I got to certain parts, I was like, oh, because I was just curious at how everybody felt, especially
Mhm.
the ending.
Mhm.
So we definitely picked a really, really good book for this year. I am excited, and I hope anyone who watches this video after, we off and pick it up. And Michael, if you're still in here, you claim you didn't get to the end. I'm gonna need you to pick it back up, get to the end, and come back, watch a video, and make a comment in the bottom. Because
Yeah.
and everybody, please, give this video a thumbs up,
Yes.
so we can reach more people, so more people can pick this up. We are big over here on celebrating Caribbean books and authors and giving them the push and giving them the recognition that they deserve. This book should have gotten way more attention than it's had since it's been
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
So we are big on that. So push, share this video, tell a friend, pick it up. Make sure the library also gets these books in so people can also get it from the library as well. We are here for Caribbean authors, especially Caribbean authors that can write, and we are supportive of this. So yes, I'm campaigning, push the
Yeah.
book. We need to see more people read this book. We need to see it all over Instagram, all that good stuff, because it is a good read.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I endorse the
Hey, Brenda.
uh, asking your library to stock the book if they don't already have it, because that is how a lot of us read books. We can't buy all the books that we want to read, no matter what your book budget is. You can't buy or own all the books you want, but it's really good sometimes to know that your library has this as a resource. And if you're not petitioning your library to get books that you want, then they're not going to stock them. And a lot of these books that cover an important part in our history need to be more recognized. Um, yeah. Thank you for sharing.
So we're going to end this video here, and I want to thank everybody that came part and had this discussion with us. I love, love, love this. I look forward to doing this every year. This was year 6,
Mhm.
and I am always, always loving it. Go ahead, Karen.
Oh,
Caribathon.
gotta go.
All right, guys. Thanks you for everybody, and
Thank you.
yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one. Keep reading Caribbean book, keep
Mhm.
sharing,
Yes.
and thanks. Don't hang up, Karen. But thanks, guys, and yeah, thanks, Dee Dee and Mike and Randy and
On
Nadine and Mad World and all the people I missed that didn't comment. We know a lot more people were in here than
Rebecca
the people who
here. Hi,
actually
Rebecca.
comment.
Thank you.
So thanks for watching,
Yep. Rebecca.
and I'll see you in the next one.
Mhm.
Bye.
Bye.